Beautiful, tragic Rwanda, one of the greenest countries in Africa, but one of the poorest. A country just emerging from the darkness of appalling brutality. A countryside depopulated by terror. While the world's attention has concentrated on those who fled, the survivors have been trying to rebuild their shattered lives, to restore their devastated country. The problems are immense. The civil war in 1994 only lasted for 3 months, but it devastated the country. Whole communities were slaughtered in the genocide or ran away in fear, leaving houses derelict and farms abandoned to the weeds. Every part of Rwanda's infrastructure was left in ruins. Even the national agricultural program was attacked, its equipment destroyed, its staff murdered. Most families in Rwanda only eat what they grow themselves. Outside the towns, people don't have the money to buy food. In the aftermath of the war, many international agencies rushed emergency aid to the refugees outside the country. Very little reached the survivors inside Rwanda. People returning to their homes found some crops like cassava were still in the ground and could be harvested and used. The real problem came with vital crops like sorghum, beans and maize. Farmers traditionally store their grain and use some of it for seed. But most families lost everything in the war, so some aid agencies imported seed, especially sorghum, and gave it out to the farmers. It wasn't local seed, but it looked fine, and many people planted it for food. But in some places, they had a nasty shock in store. The plants looked healthy enough, but they set no seed. Jean Vianney has just 1 hectare from which he must feed his family. His crop was a complete failure. It had not been the right seed for the area. He's now left more destitute than he was at the end of the war.
You cannot just take any seed from anywhere and bring it to Rwanda to produce it. We went in the road from Kigali to Karama. You see a huge variabilities in the altitude. You go from 1700 to 1400 and then up back to 1600, which means these micro-ecological places will need a specific type of a seed or germplasm.
With every group of villages having its own local varieties, restoring the whole rich mosaic will clearly be a major task. Soon after the war was over, an international Seeds of Hope project was set up led by SIAT, the International Center for Tropical Agriculture.
They were interested in the idea. We also talked with NARO there at the Kalangiri station. They were willing to assist with logistics, and it's gone forward. We were also concerned about the germplasm, which ISAR had.
This is a joint project by several centres of the CGIAR, the Consultative Group on International Agricultural Research. 8 centres joined forces with scientists from African countries in the region and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
This is an important project. FAO has been long concerned about plant genetic resources, did some of the early work in this field. What this project shows, well, what the situation in Rwanda shows, is that a tremendous amount of diversity can be lost very quickly. What this project does is give the opportunity for gene banks, which have been collecting material over the years from places like Rwanda, to return some of that material to benefit the farmers that donated the material in the first place.
IFGRI is the lead centre on genetic resources. We maintain a whole series of databases on a range of different crops. Our contribution to a project such as Seeds of Hope is through our broader overview of what's going on in the world, through our knowledge and our work with national programs in knowing the sort of things that they have, how to access materials that are being held in gene banks, in national programs as well as at international programs.
Wherever Rwandan seed was available in gene banks, emergency programs to increase it were started. At the university farm in Nairobi, Kenya, 500 kilograms of Ikinyaruka, a mid-altitude sorghum variety, was produced as a joint effort by the National Agricultural Programme and ICRISAT. Inside Rwanda, World Vision International and other non-government aid agencies set up a network of distribution centres in each prefecture. Here at Nyamata, 50 kilometers southeast of Kigali, people have come from a large area to collect seeds suitable for these drier, low-altitude conditions. Working from lists of villagers, the aid workers organize the distribution according to the size of each family. It's a major logistical exercise to supply every family in time for the main sowing season. Not everyone in Rwanda grows sorghum, but beans are found everywhere. Agronomists estimate that over 600 different varieties are grown in the country, usually in complex mixtures specially adapted to each locality. Each family has a plot of beans. Processing the crop involves nearly everyone. Many people in Rwanda depend on beans for nearly all their protein intake. They're essential if malnutrition is to be avoided. Re-establishing the full range of bean cultivation could be the most important single contribution to food security in Rwanda. In the last few years, an advanced program had been developed to produce and distribute hundreds of improved bean varieties. During the war, it was only the determination and bravery of some of these research workers that saved the unique germplasm for the future.
We made up a committee consisting of 6 people, and I was the president of this group. We tried to put men on guard to protect the seeds in the store until World Vision came here afterwards, and we could start our work again. Then the head of the station and other technical people came back and found all the seeds we had been able to protect in our store.
We have here beans. We have bush bean and most are climbing beans. The bush bean are from Siat, and they are mostly CAL 96 and MCM 5001.
Some Rwandan beans were brought in from neighbouring countries, and World Vision has also been given funds from Seeds of Hope to restart the beans research work. By January 1995, some varieties were almost ready for harvest. With such rich diversity, there's still an enormous amount of work to be done describing and documenting local bean varieties. There used to be over 50 scientists here at ISAR, the National Agricultural Research Institute, but today there's only a handful left. Not enough to manage all the centre's former activities.
Distributing seed need a lot of input, a lot of organization, a lot of money, a lot of material. It's not only you go and distribute seeds, but you distribute the seeds, you have to follow up, you have to monitor, and to see the effect, the impact of the distribution.
Some of the most important varieties are now generally available, but restoring the whole bean programme will take several years. In a mountainous country like Rwanda, erosion and the loss of topsoil in the rainy season is a constant problem threatening agricultural production. The National Tree Seed Centre at Butare was set up 3 years ago to control erosion by developing agroforestry. Badly damaged during the war, the centre was repaired by the Swiss government, and its work has now been included in the Seeds of Hope project. By mid-1995, most of the facilities had been restored, new staff had been recruited, and the library was fully functional. Among the scientific work that has started is the collection and viability testing of local indigenous tree seeds, a project supported by the International Centre for Agroforestry in Nairobi.
It was a good opportunity when the Seeds of Hope program started. Initially, there was no component for tree seed. It was all focused on emergency agricultural, crop material. But ultimately, through the Australians, we were able to bring in a component of tree seed. And that is what brought ICRAF, going back into the system to try to see what we can do to help the rehabilitation program. And also, more importantly, trying to put together the team of national scientists that would be able to undertake these activities in various components going on at the Tree Seed Center.
The centre has its own arboretum, which is used to supply quality seed of the trees used in agroforestry. Only 2 of the original workers have returned, but new workers have been trained to collect and prepare the seed for distribution to local tree nurseries. Rebuilding the independent work of Rwandan institutions is a priority, but for some crops there's very close cooperation with national agricultural research systems elsewhere in East Africa. In the highlands, potatoes are grown as a popular cash crop. Only a few varieties are used, but the farmers need fresh, disease-free seed stock each year, something that the war prevented them getting. Emergency multiplication was started by Ugandan scientists with the help of SIP, the International Potato Center. Their potato research station is situated at more than 2,500 meters, where few disease organisms can survive. So it's an ideal place to produce a large number of clean plants free of all pathogens.
The main varieties with farmers are Cruiser, I've got Uganda 11, and Sangema. Those ones are popular here and they're also being used in Rwanda. In fact, Cruiser and Sangema were first imported from Rwanda with the help of USAID in 1987. But we have also now developed new ones here, which we hope they'll be equally popular in Rwanda.
Rwanda is a next door neighbor to ourselves, and consequently the problems of Rwanda are our problems. To put it in the historical context, when we were in trouble here, and soon after we got out and started getting on the road, in the case of potato seed, we ran to Rwanda, and Rwandans came to our help.
The Seeds of Hope project continues to involve regional cooperation for other crops like maize and cassava. National agricultural research systems have contributed personnel, germplasm, research facilities and land for seed multiplication. Famine has been averted, and seed for local varieties of most crops is now available to farmers.
We're trying to reassemble all the germplasm that was existing here before, to reinstate and to multiply the collections which we had before the war, to maintain them and to restart our research.
Seeds of Hope has combined the expertise of international centres with that of national programmes in the region, identifying and multiplying the appropriate seeds for each part of Rwanda. The voluntary agencies, with their local networks, have contributed by distributing these diverse seeds direct to the farmers. A start has been made.
In the long run, this means that farmers in Rwanda can reestablish an agricultural system which is most appropriate to Rwanda, rather than having to rely on imported seeds, which for the most part have been bred for other conditions faced by other people in perhaps faraway lands.
As Rwanda begins its long road to reconstruction, food security is one of the most basic needs of the entire community. If today's children are to have a real future, it's the farmers who will have to grow the food to feed them. By helping to restore the full diversity of Rwanda's agriculture, Seeds of Hope has already made a contribution whose real value may only become apparent in the years to come.